Alright, welcome back y'all, and in this video we're finally going to be getting started with our social functionality. Now what I did is I actually updated some of the tickets here. Before they said social, but I kind of structured it, made a little roadmap here to kind of outline what we're going to do. So eventually we're going to have a social feature kind of like you imagine, where you can make a post and then other people can leave comments on that post. However, I don't just want to create everything on the back end all at once. Instead, since our front end still needs some work and it's kind of related to the social feature, what I'm going to do is this. I am first going to make the back end for posts only, no comments. And then after that, I'm going to go on the front end, and you see right here on your profile page, you basically have this left section right here, and then on the right, it's just invitations. Well, eventually we're going to have two tabs here, one for your posts and one for these invitations. So that's the next thing I'm going to do after the backend is kind of all set to go with posts. Kind of just build out the front end framework. And then after that, I'll actually write the front end post components. And then from there, I just have some backlog items that are kind of related to social features. One, on your profile page, we're going to be adding your username right here. And that's going to take like, 30 seconds maybe. And then after here, I'm going to be updating the front end so you can view other people's profiles. Right now, you can see that in the URL, basically the only profile you can go to is your own profile. However, of course, once things are connected and, just more social action going on, then you're going to be able to want to click on other people's user labels and be taken to their profile, check things out. So anyways, that's what I'm going to be doing right here. And then the last, second to last front end feature is that right now, whenever you log out and log back in, you go to the course page by default. And instead of that, I'm just going to redirect the user to their profile page. And I thought it would be good to do this after this feature right here, since for this, we're going to do some URL updating. And then this can just take them to the correct URL. And then last but not least, to round things out before we get started, the last two features we're going to be working on is comments. First, I'm of course going to build out the back end, and then we'll add the comments to our posts on the front end. So that is our roadmap. I'm hoping everything will take, maybe less than a week for sure. Let's say that. It's August 4th right now. So next Friday, it's also Friday right now, by the way. So next Friday, I'm hoping to have all this done and launched. So that's my goal. Let's see if we can do it. All right. Now, I will say off the bat that we do have a little bit of help. And that is, I made this other social network type app recently for cooking, so people can share recipes and images of food with each other. And it has the recipe, which is pretty much a post. And it also has this comment model. And it's very similar structured to how I want to structure my posts. But I just want to say that I'm going to be referencing this a little bit. But either way, let's hop back into our main project here. And first, let me create a branch for this. So I'm on the back end, ticket number 50, cool. And let's say new branch 50 social posts. And I'm going to create. And am I recording? Yes. And okay. So the first thing I want to do is just create a social app. I was thinking about just putting it in a post app and then a comments app, because that's what I did in this social network. Just have well, they're not called posts, they're called recipes and comments. But because the app that we're working on right here is a little bit more to it, kind of a little bit more complex, I think it's better to organize these under a social app. So what I'm going to do, and by app I mean a social Django app. So I'm going to cd into the new Boston, and then I'm going to Python 3 manage start app. Is it manage start app or just start app? Python 3 manage start app. I'll just say social. Alright, so now we got our social app right here, and I'm going to delete models, tests, and views because I like to split those out. So delete those. And actually, let me just steal these. So models, definitely could have typed that faster. Okay, models package, and then serializers, refactor, rename, and then views. You can just type this out. All right, so that is our structure. And now let's actually just go ahead and register the app for anything else. So to register this, you need to prepend the app name with the New Boston, since that's the location of it. And then if I go to project settings base, where everything's registered, then in here, and how's this alphabetized? All right, so social apps, and this is social config. So now our app should be registered. And on that note, ready to start creating some models. Now, another thing that I want to do off the bat is I actually want to ask ChatGPT kind of for some naming conventions, since yes, the post is going to be similar to a recipe. It's pretty much going to have a creator or an owner, and then an optional image, and then some like post text. But I want to ask ChatGPT to write this post model for me, because I don't know if the text is going to be called the text, the body, the whatever else. And I just want to kind of, I know it kind of like gets the average of all of these. So social network in Django creates a post model for me. And on that note, we can actually start models. Let me see what I can steal. So first of all, I'm going to have a new post model. And for created and modified, and I actually do want to see, pretty sure it's going to be called the owner. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I'm definitely going to have an owner, created and modified. I just want to make sure I didn't call them anything else. And this can be good for now. All right, ChatGPT, what did you call it? The title, the content, huh? Post content. Okay. Now, do I want content? That is pretty intuitive. The post content, not the post body, not the post description. So yeah, I believe the content is what we want. Okay. And description, model text field, an image. This is another thing that we're gonna need. And let me just make sure this is my standard for image fields. Yep, and it has, okay, we'll keep blank equals true since content is required, but an image is not. Okay. This may be a little cumbersome, but we'll fix this in Django admin later. Okay. So with this being said, let's actually, do we want to register this already? Yeah. So now in my models init, what I can do is from post, just import post, and then in my admin, from models post, I'm just going to register post so it shows up in my Django admin. Now, before I make migrations, is this good? So the post has create modified date, the owner, the content, and an image. Image can be nullable, it's not required, and this is all good. Okay. So make migrations, make migrate. And now, let me just restart my server so it doesn't get confused. And let's pop over to Django admin. And okay, so social now has posts. Looking good. Looking good. Looking good. It's looking real good. And I'm also thinking that maybe we want to have content be blank true too in the future, because there may be some instances where they want to post the image, but no content, kind of like a Instagram style. Oh, wait a minute. No, Instagram style. Can you even do that? Or do you have to post some content too? I don't know. But either way, our social networks can be something unique. So we'll just do things our way. Okay. So next up, what I want to do after this is I want to create a serializer. So refactor, rename, and I can just create the view file too after I get rid of you. So new Python file post, new Python file post. Okay. So for the serializer for this, what we're gonna do, let's do this. Let's just copy all of you. And what we are gonna say is this. Okay. So the fields that we want, whenever you are creating it, are content and image. We don't need any read-only fields because we explicitly outlined those. Then the validated data is going to be content and the image, and the creator is actually called the owner, and this is going to be the requesting user. Replace recipe with post. Now validate, we don't need any special validation, so we'll keep that as is. The model serializer also already validates kind of everything that we need to validate based on the model. So for models post, let's do post. I'm going to replace recipe with post. Okay. And then whenever you are reading it, what we can do is we can do this. We are going to import this, and we are going to say this. Okay. So whenever you are reading the post, then just serialize the owner. Let me just see this. Order read, order write, product read, product write. Okay. And I'm also thinking it may be better to explicitly make all of these read only. Yeah. Even though we're only going to be reading from here, I believe that by giving each one explicitly read only, then it helps with performance. Oh, let's just do this. So owner, create date, ID, modified date, content, image. And also I want to, actually this is good, content image, because then you don't get created and modified. Okay. So anyways, This should have 6 because this is created and modified owner content image. So created and modified ID content owner image. Okay. So anyways, I was saying that when you explicitly pass in read-only fields, even if you are only reading from your serializer, it gives you some performance benefits because it doesn't run validation against any of the data when it's read-only. And that is what we want because we don't need to validate it because that data is already in our database, which means it was already validated. And well, hopefully nothing gets messed up between the point where we read it from database and are serializing it. But this should be good for this. When create it, set the owner to the request user. Okay. Yes, yes. Okay. And now in our right class, yeah, let's steal it from address or something. So shop views addresses. Actually, let's steal it from cores. Yeah, this should be a good starting point. Okay. So instead of the core, we're going to replace that with post. And we're going to replace core with post. Now let's see what we got going on. Okay, so for the post view set, it's a model view set. I'm going to be using a multi-part parser and form parser because I'm working with form data, aka images. Now, permission classes is authenticated and is object owner or read only. And the property of this is owner, so this is good. Only the owner can pretty much create or edit their own items or delete. Let's see. So this comes with delete. That's good. When creating, passing the request is valid. If so, then the post is equal to whatever you save. The read serializer, we also need to pass in the request for, so it forms the full URL for the image. And all right. So in the get serializer class, we're basically saying anytime you make any write related changes, then use the write serializer. Otherwise, use the read serializer. Let me just see. Yeah, this was the same for the recipe. And then for updating, partial allowed the instance depending on ID. Serializer, this is the write serializer. If it's valid, then just get the updated post, send it through to the read serializer. Bada bing, bada boom, you got yourself a view. Okay. So I also want to copy these URLs. So copy URLs, stick them in social. And then I'm going to say for posts. Whoa. For post, we are using the post view set. Okay. Now let's go ahead and in my project, gonna bring in these URLs, Social. It's gonna be the coolest social network ever. Social URLs. And then let's lint this bad boy and test things out. So make lint. And fixing my migration file, make a lint again. All right, beautiful. So now just make sure my server is running. And all right. Actually, let me restart this again since I have new files. Just wanna be double sure, picked up the latest changes. And now I can go ahead and let's first log in, make sure I'm the right user. So I am Bucky, pass 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the first thing I want to do is, for one, make sure I'm logged in as Bucky. Okay. And now I am just going to get my posts. Nothing fancy, empty list, good so far. So after this, I'm going to create a new post, and that is going to be with this type of data. And let me just throw it up with this, get some errors. So I say content is hey. All right, this gives me a post back, created, ID, no image, and that works fine. So now let me try to create a post with the image. And this is, oh, I need form data straight up. So content, yo-yo, and then the image. This is going to be a file field, and I'll just upload this image of a wooden spoon. Send that up. Okay, yo, wooden spoon, full URL, good to go. All right, so now let me actually try to patch this. And I will say I'll update the content to Spoon City, baby. What's up? Yep, updated to Spoon. And now let me try to just update the, let's see. I am owner 1. Let's try to update it to 2. Didn't work, which is good. And now, last but not least, let's try to delete this. No content, beautiful. Okay, so that was easier than anticipated. Now the question is, interesting. Very interesting. Well, first of all, let's just refresh this. Hey. Oh yeah, I deleted the second one. I was wondering why there was only one. Okay. Now, is this all we need to do for now? I mean, if we look at our ticket, it just says social post, and that is what we did. Another thing that I'm thinking that we may want to do right now is this. So right now, again, actually, let me get this one. So if I get these posts, it gives me a list of posts. Now, even though this is working, I'm going to add a filter in here, and the reason is because this is actually not the endpoint that we're going to be using on the front end at this point. Because on the front end, the first feature that we're going to be building is the ability to pretty much create and manage posts from your profile page. Now what that means is that we're only going to be looking at posts from a specific user. So this isn't like a feed or anything where you see like posts from a bunch of different users, at least not for this first iteration. This first one, we're going to need fetch the post. Got the hiccups, great. And then we're only going to need to, we're going to be passing in a query param to filter them by a single user. So let's just go ahead and make that now. Okay. So before we do that, let's take a look at what we did for recipes and look at Django Filter backend. Comments, where are you at? Okay, filters. Django Filter backend. You're coming from REST framework. Django Filter backend. Fascinating. Fascinating. And let me just look at how our project settings are set up for this. Okay. All right. So this is for the token, and then no filtering logic by default. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new filter set class, and we are going to filter by creator, and that the lookup is going to be their user ID. Okay. Then we can test that. And also before we test that, we can also prepare for testing to say we have another post, say Ava. I say I am Ava. And then this one says I am Bucky. And this is just so we can see here pretty much who owns each post. But now with that said, let's go ahead and first create a new filters package in our social app. So new package filters, and this is going to be for post. And just like this, we're creating a new filter. However, we're going to be replacing a recipe with post. For these fields, we can use a tuple. And let's just do this. So for the models, we're going to say owner. Owner for the fields. Owner, comma for a tuple. And alright. So now we have a class, a filter class, that allows users to look up by owner, and it'll match up exact. So basically they have to pass in owner equals 1, and it'll be the ID of them. Now let's just do this. So filter set Django filter backend. Wait, this comes from the Django Filters package, not REST framework. So now the question is, do I have that filters package? And PyProject toml Django filter. Okay, should be good. All right, so now this is going to give me this, and then my filter backend, and then from filters.post import my post filter, and then for my filter set class, it's going to be my post filter. Make sure everything is alphabetized. Make a lint, and while you are linting, I am going to go ahead and test it, and this is with the owner. Okay, so now whenever I get all posts, I should have 2 in there, since Ava created one and I created one. And now I'm just going to say owner equals 1, and I get a field error. And why is that, you ask? Cannot reserve creator. Oh, field name. This is, here we go. Okay. So now, once I fix that error, okay. So 1 gives me Bucky's. I don't know what number Ava is, but let's find out. 2 is not Ava. Is 3 Ava? Yes. Okay. So either way, we now have support to filter them by a certain user. I am Bucky. I am Bucky. Okay. Now, is everything linted properly? If so, I believe we can just push this up to the back end now. Fuse, filter sets, this. All right, cool. So now let's push this up, and for the naming convention, for the first commit, we can just do 50 social posts. And the reason that I like to do this in my first commit is because whenever you create a PR, then it takes the comment from your first commit and uses it as a title for the PR. And this is what I want for the title of my PR. So, well, yeah, you get the point. Okay. So this register in my app, little mini self-code review right here. This looking good. Init file, filter file, looking nice. Migrations. Init file, looking nice. Text required on delete cascade, which is what we want. This might have to change because if someone has long content, I don't want that all rendering in Django admin, but that's an easy fix whenever we come across that issue. This is good. However, in my serializer, can even trim that up a bit. So the new boss in social serializers, we can do this for more simple imports. And all right, let's again and pick up where we left off. So serializers, better imports. All of those imports are correct. Great. Update. And we did say when we update it too, I was just testing. Okay, I just want to test one more thing, and that's that whenever we post something that has an image, then we get the full URL, and then whenever we patch it, and let's say that we change the image to maybe this flat rock. Oh, patch post, and what number was that? Five. Yeah, I just want to make sure when I patch it, okay, that I get updated full URL too. Beautiful. And on that note, I think we're good. Cool. All right, push these up, and yeah, that was easier than I thought. All right. So now, even though we aren't ready to merge this in, because I do want to build out the front end for it, yeah, what we can do is this. So I want to build out the front end, new layout, and then I want to actually build these components, these post components on the front end. And then what we'll do then is merge everything in. Since whenever I'm building out this front end, if I come across any issues like, I don't know, whatever issues there may be with the back end and I need to update something, then I don't have to like revert or I don't know. It's just easier if you kind of, this almost tests the back end as part of development. So now that we got this out of the way, back end post, then what I'll do is I'll say we're going to be working on the front end post and invites tab next, and that'll be part of the same branch as this. So since we're going to be hopping over to the front end, let's hop into the front end and get our ticket number. So social post 86 social post. Well, first of all, let me make sure I'm updated. I don't have any lingering changes. Nope. So on the front end, I'm doing 86 social posts. All right, now as prep work, let's go ahead and make those tabs. So on the profile, pages, profile, invitation. Yeah. So what I'm gonna do first is create a new invitations component. Because then what I can do is stick all these invitations in a component and then all the posts in another component, and then I'll use a tab component to toggle which one of those subcomponents to display. Yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, okay. So on that note, let's go ahead and do some cleanup. We are making a new directory called invitations. And are you styled, my friend? Yes. Okay. So you are going to have styles. And then you are also going to have a component file. And this component file is just going to be renamed to invitations. Now invitations are going to have this style. And also, what else do you got going on? So invitations what you're going to do is you are going to have an invitation. Actually, let me shut off my server for a second. Things are about to get messy, just temporarily. Okay. So anyways, how are we going to do this? So we can have this render invitations function still, but instead of returning everything nested inside this invitations component, since this is this container now, you are just going to return this. Return your invitations. And why? Okay. And then we are going to render them right in the main container here. And then on that note, this invitation is going to move into invitations. Since the invitations is basically the container, IDE error occurred. Told you things are going to get messy. Okay. So now this is going to be moved over to here. Invitations list. It's going to be object values invitations. That's going to be uSelector, get invitations, selector state. Okay, get invitations and invitations from uSelector, React Redux. Okay, now invitation list. What is this? These are just list of invitations. Okay, now the question is this all we need to do for this component? Possibly. Okay. Now, if that's the case, then what we can do is this. So we can import invitations from there, and then right here where it says render invitations, we can render that invitations component. And that means we can get rid of this render invitations function, and then that also means, yeah. So what we want to do is this. We want to move this logic right here, where we say if you don't have any invitations, then what do you want to do? And we just want to render some empty text. And what is this empty text going to say? No invitations to display. Okay, so here is where we're calculating the invitation list from the invitations that we have in Redux. Now, if you don't have any invitations, then just render empty text otherwise and render this invitation container, which is going to render all of your individual invitations, which is what we want. Now, for this, what we can do is whenever we render content, for now, we can just return invitations. Eventually, this is going to be kind of more logic because we need to determine what tab we're on. But for right now, we don't have any tabs built, so no need for any of that. So we can get rid of this empty text component. What is this? Invitation list. Where are we using use still? Render create invitation button, and that's in the section heading for invitations. In that section heading, on the right hand side, but we want to move that to invitations. So first of all, we did not account for this, I don't believe. And on the right, okay, but that is fine, because what we can do is this. Say invitation container. Okay. Okay, so yeah, let's do this. So this invitation is going to be renamed to invitation container. Okay, so this is invitation container. Now for our main page container or component container, we'll just keep this empty right now. We might have to style this in a bit, but essentially what we can do is say this, const invitations equals this, and what we are going to do is return invitation container with invitations rendered in. And that'll take care of that. And also, yeah, let's change some of this. Okay. So what we're going to do is this. We are going to say this invitation list is an ordered list of your invitations. Yeah, that's fine. Now, whenever we render the invitations, we are going to be rendering right from your invitation list. And in here, what we're going to be doing in the container is this. We are going to rename render invitations to render content. And that is because we are first going to check if you have no invitations, then you're going to return empty text instead that says no invitations to display. Otherwise, render your invitations. And on top of this is always going to go the section header. Did we import that yet? No. Okay. Now where are you at section heading? We don't need a render function for this, since it's just pretty straight up. Okay. Invitation list length. Render create invitation button. So we're going to need a button, an invitation limit amount. An invitation limit amount is calculated based on this, which needs self. A lot of moving around things, but okay. We'll eventually get things in the right order. And okay, and this is going to require invitation limits, which are in our selector. All right, so now we can bring in create invitation button. But first we need a button for this. All right, create invitation button. toggle. Oh yeah, we got to bring our modal in here too. And that is toggle invitation modal. Toggle comes from hooks. And then that means this whole thing is going to need to be in here. And then where are you at invitation modal? I'm going to move you over to your new home. And then for this, everything should be good to go. Invitation modal is open. If so, yada yada, bada bing, bada boom. I think that should just about do it. So now let's clean up this. Render section heading. We don't need that. We are just going to render content. So we don't need you. Whoa, whoa, whoa. What happened here? One too many delete presses. Okay. So fix you up on the right. We're just rendering content. We don't need you. Section heading. We don't need you. Create invite button. Render content. You're pretty simple for now. Invitation list. Don't need you. Okay, that can be moved as well, but let's just focus on cleanup here. Code optimize import. Okay, so this gets our updated invitation limit. And I actually believe that this may be a better place to put it. Yeah. Okay. So first of all, let's just go ahead and check and make sure I didn't mess anything up. Oh wait, I need to start my server. Okay, step one, make sure you avoid any huge errors. Okay, everything looks good, which is great. I'm gonna log out, log back in, go to my profile, nothing changed. I'm gonna create a note. I'll say invitations for magnetic. Invitation created, beautiful. Can edit it, say, nope, is it for Bob now? Beautiful, and delete it. No invitations, empty state, there's my limit, which is 5, yada yada, looking good. Okay. Now let me just do a quick review of this. Okay, so edit profile, this is logic for the left, dispatch, shelf, self-avatar. This logic's still good. That way we're just basically getting our invitation limit whenever we go to the profile page one time, rather than, like I said, eventually we're going to have tabs back here and we don't need to refetch this limit every time we click the tab. It's a little unnecessary, or very unnecessary. Now avatar content, this is going to be smarter. And okay, now for my profile, I don't have invitations anymore. The button I have, it's a button on the left. And actually, with that said, this can be renamed to render button, since we only have one button now. Always like to keep things nice and simple as possible. Okay. And then where was I? So this button is for editing your profile. That's on the left, and on the right, we just have one thing right now, invitation. And then whenever you're editing your profile, it opens, good to go. So it has a button, container, image wrapper. This is for the avatar, left and right section. All right, that's good. And now for these invitations, pretty much just make sure everything's ordered correctly. Okay, invitation mode is open, limits. Get it for the user list. This is all the same. Yeah, one minor thing here is that for this invitation list, one thing we're just checking is to see if there are any items in it to determine whether we display empty text. And then if there are items, then we render them out. So it may be a little bit more performant to just have this list be just a straight up list. And then only if we need to render them, then we can order them, since it doesn't really make sense to order them prematurely. But, you know, I think this is fine actually. So, okay. Render the button, render content, section heading, good to go. Okay, cool. So now let me just go ahead and npm run lint, and I will push this initial branch up, and then we'll kind of get started on the tabs. So this is going to be called 86 social posts. 86 social posts. And what did I do here? Two green, move these. Oh, okay. And real quick, let me actually just check. I moved this file. Nothing should be ruined. Just want to check my imports. Make sure I have no relative imports that broke or anything like that. All right, so now that we got that out of the way, let's hop back in here and figure out this tab logic. So what I can do is first think about what other tab logic I'm going to steal, and I have a feeling it's going to come from all right, so not that one. In the exchange, let's go ahead and create an asset pair real quick, just so we have some elements. So primary BTX, secondary TMB. Okay, so this is the logic that I want. Yeah. And I say this because this tab data is just stored in state, and I want to store this tab data in state. The tabs where it says posts or invitations, because I don't think we need to keep that in Redux. All right, so this is in the Exchange app. So in the Exchange, where are we going? So is it the main area? Yes, the main area. And what page was this? The trade page. All right. So I have a tab. Gonna need this. And I also want to let's uppercase these. And I say that because here on my enums, I've been following, you see this uppercase standard. So let's change this. So buy and sell. So tab buy, tab sell, tab buy, tab sell, tab buy, tab sell. All right. 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 Okay. So we're going to be having similar tabs. So let's prep for this. Now, our tabs are going to be the pages that we want, or the sections, whatever you call it. And I'll say posts and invitations. Invitations. Okay. Next thing, we are going to want an active tab and a tab state in the default of post. So this is pretty much going to determine what we are looking at. Posts or invitations by default, when you go to a profile page, you're just going to be looking at their posts. I don't even know if we have it where you can look at another user's invitations, but at least for right now, when you're on your own page, you can switch between it. So yeah, we're rolling with this for now. Okay. Now, next thing I'm going to do is actually render out some tabs. So, render page content, what's going on here? Asset pair, render tabs, okay. So here we have tabs. This is interesting. This is very interesting. I was almost certain that this was a component. Wait a minute, are you telling me that all of these are not standardized? All of the tabs all across the app? Oh man, I hope not. Okay, if so, that's gonna be something. Okay. So let's do this. Let's build this out. And I'll build it out with these tabs unstandardized, and then I'll get re-familiar with everything, and then we'll standardize it in just a bit. So first I'm going to need this section or something similar to say render tabs. So render tabs, this doesn't make sense in this context. And for this, I am just going to say we need tabs and tabs just like this. So tabs is the container. What changes did I make here? I'll capitalize everything. Okay. So tabs is the container, and the tab is like the individual tab, the button. And then all this is duplicate code that needs to be fixed, but for right now, it's good. Okay, so that's taken care of. And then I will say that the first tab is, we'll just say posts. And the second tab is invitations. And then when you click any of this tab, it sets it as the active tab, because that active tab, basically it calls this first to set that tab as active tab, and then since it's equal, the active tab is equal to this, then it sets it in active, which gives it that styling behavior right here, just a different color. And now what I need to do is on the right hand side, I'm first going to call render tabs. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename render content to render tab content. Render tabs, render tab content. Okay. Okay. And on that note, show you what is tab content here. I don't know if I need any of that. Tab content. Yeah, I don't know if I need any of that. Because here, okay. So let's not do that. Okay. But we can still kind of get this function. Render tab content is going to be something like this. So what we are going to do is we're going to say if you are on tabs post, then for now we'll just render a div. Jeez, autocomplete. And then we'll say post here. Now if you're on tabs invitations, then what we can do is render those invitation components. Clean up all this. And hopefully we got something that looks like it has the potential to work soon. Okay, so posts here, invitations, there you go. Yeah, and I am thinking this tab content we may want to make just so we can kind of separate whatever is in here from the top a little bit. I also don't like how, see when you're on invitations, it looks like post has some space right here. But I guess that's more of a styling issue. And also these tabs have a margin top, what I don't like. Yeah, we can get rid of that. Okay, so now for the styling. First of all, these tabs have a margin top that I do not like. In my view. Second of all, we do want this tab content after all. Tab content tabs. And we can just say the tab content has a padding top of 16. And then when you render the tab content, do it like this. Maybe it'll be better for margin top. Yeah, I think margin top is what we're looking for. Okay. So now logging back out, logging back in, I am going to my profile page. My posts tab is going to be selected by default. It's going to say posts here. Then if I want to see my invitations, click invitations. Then let's create one of these. Magnetic, you're getting another one. And what about Bob? You get one too. Last but not least, let's not forget about Betty. Get some realistic data going on in here. Okay, so these are going to be my posts. These are going to be my invitations. Yeah, the styling still looks a little bit wonky. Just doesn't feel smooth, but again, I'm going to need to find a designer because my design skills are, well, you're pretty much looking at it, not that great. But now that we got the basic framework done, well, first of all, we can almost close this off. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to go ahead and run npm run lint, do a little mini code review, and then if everything looks good, we'll cross that other item off of our roadmap. And actually before or right after we do that, we need to standardize these tab components. They're pretty annoying. So, okay. This was just capitalizing everything, and that looks good. This was adding our tab component, and those look good. Good enough for now, at least until we dry up all those. And this is, yeah, this should all be coming from a component, but all that's good for now. Okay, I'll say tab component. And now, I wonder if you think if we throw this to ChatGPT, what it's going to do? First of all, let's think about what we are looking for. So our tabs themselves, what are they? Really just a splice flex, and we may have a margin top, but this can really be handled in a styled component. Now the tab content, is this standardized as well? So on our trade page, our tab content is going to have a border and border radius. Oh, that's because this, oh, I see what's going on. So yeah, just this is the tab content, right? And the other one's the order book. That's interesting. But actually, this can be in, yeah, we don't need this either. And I say that because that can just be in this buy component. Yeah. So let's start unifying some of this. So on this page and this page, they both have a margin top of 12. Okay, so this isn't, you know, ideally what we want, but this preparation, it's good. Actually, what we can do from here is we can get rid of this. See, margin top of 12 pixels. That's what this one was, right? 16. Let's go with that. And then to make sure we have our same styling as before, since we aren't trying to cause too many issues here. So in our buy container, which we just took the styles away of the buy and sell, we'll go back in here and we can say in your container, you can now have these properties back. So by styles, this, and then we have that margin. That's interesting. So let's do this. Let's do this. Okay. So now with this, I'm thinking that this tab content should not be opinionated at all. This tab content is merely just a div. Now, first in trade, we're going to keep it the same. And then, first of all, trade should look all right now. That's good. Actually, I need to update sell too real quick. So the sell styles are going to be this as well. So buy styles, sell styles. All right, so those should look good for buy and sell. And now under profile, I do want a little bit of a bumper here, but instead of having that being dictated by the tabs, then instead I'm going to have it being dictated by the component that is rendered within the tabs. And in this case, this is invitations. So on invitations, yeah, I like this method a lot better actually. Element OP, so actually this is the container, right? You have container, and then in your this you have invitation. Okay, so container, that was a margin top of 16. And then we'll do the same for post. Okay. So this is good. We now have our tabs being a lot more standardized. And okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is close out of these for the time being. Actually, let me just pop up and see what else we got for this right here. So for each tab, okay. So what I'm thinking is we have how's this component going to be structured? All right, so this is interesting. So we basically need to pass in a list of tab data which contains a string or an enum, a click handler, but no, I think this can be the same. Basically a list of enums and then the readable version of it. And actually this needs, maybe this is why I didn't standardize anything. Things are going to get a little bit tricky here. Now another thing that I can do is I can say set active tab. I can leave it out here, and on click I can just pass in this, and this will set the state from this parent component. Just a callback. It's going to be a little bit tricky. Another thing that I can do is I can be purely just style these. Maybe that's the way to go. So I have a tabs component. Do I even need that? Because all it would be is display flex. All it would be is a display flex container. And then I would have a tab component. And then that would take these props, a child, an is active, and an on click handler. It's kind of silly to structure things that way, but it's looking like that might be the way to go. Now the question becomes, do I need these? Do I need a component for this? It's going to be pretty silly, huh? But it is also, even though you're like separating a component, yeah, maybe that's better actually. Okay. So we can see how silly this is, but it's also a readable. And is it really that bad to have super simple components? I don't think so. Okay. Now, I got an idea in my head of what I'm gonna do, but let's first ask ChatGPT their approach. So create separate for the tabs. And I won't give it any additional clues into what I'm thinking because I kind of want it to kind of don't want to misguide it. So this, get this, hopefully it can handle this much text. I might get yelled at for pasting in more content than it can handle, but we'll see. Ooh, that's a lot. Ooh, nice. Okay. So notice that I have two components with similar structure. Nice. Okay, so this is interesting. This is exactly what I was thinking about, splitting them into two components, one with a super simple structure. And yeah, so here they're in the same file. I want to split those out. But yeah, it's pretty much Yep. Yeah. All right, well, if me and ChatGPT agree on this and, well, no one else is voting, let's go ahead and get started. So, what we are going to do first is we're just going to create a new tabs component. So I'm going to create a new component and I'm going to call it tabs. And then it's going to have a styles file. And then, actually, this is going to be pretty easy, I think. Okay. Then it's going to have a new index file. And this is just going to be renamed tabs. Now, as the props for this, steal some of my props here. So as tabs props, what I'm going to be passing in is children that are a React node. Something like this. And they are not going to be optional. You need to have them. And the children are just going to be rendered right inside. You need to accept those props right there. Okay. So that's all tab is doing. And now for, tabs. And now your only styling is a display flex. Okay. So basically we're going to be passing in you stuff, just display it as flex. Nice and easy. So now let's just go ahead and kind of get this going on. So from components tabs, we want to import this super simple tabs component. And now in place of our style tabs, we're just going to be using our new tabs component, which means we can get rid of these tabs. And we are going to be doing the same thing for trade. So get rid of your, actually with trade, these tabs are styled with margin top. So we need to make this a styled component for this. So these are going to be like this. So now these tabs are a styled version of these unstyled tabs, and we're just adding a margin top to them. And then in here we don't need to import anything, and then here the usage is just the same. However, now these refer to our tabs component. So this still works. Actually, is my server running? Just want to make sure. Okay, so those changes were picked up. And the exchange still works. This still works. Looking good. Now, from there, this is where we get a little bit fancy. Not too fancy, just a little bit fancy. And we want to make a new tab component, which is going to take an isActive boolean and an onClick handler and children, which is a string. Okay. So now let's go ahead and make a new where are you at directory called tab. You're also going to have styles. And you're also going to have a new main component index file. And yes, of course, you're going to look something like this. Okay. So just like tabs, you're also going to take props. Nothing of those. So this is going to be tab props that you're going to accept. And for the children, this is going to be a string. And also, you are going to be taking, for each of these tabs, is active Boolean. And that's going to be passed in. And that's going to be converted to this is active and on click as well. All right, so is active. When we pass it through to the styled logic, we're going to have to rename it to a $sign. And then on click, well, this is going to be a generic void function, so that's going to come from types. Actually, we can just steal this wherever you are. So types on click, on click. Then whatever I tell you to do on click, that's what you do on click. And now for the styles, you need to accept basically this right here. All right, so this tab is going to take this right. So each tab is going to take children, which is just the display text, an is active Boolean, and on click handler. And then that is all standardized now. And now let's standardize it. Tab content. Okay. 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 So now for each tab, we are just going to be replacing styled version right like this. And it's going to yell me because my tab doesn't have any. Oh. Let's rename. So tab, what's a good, have a little naming conflict, but I don't know what to name it. Tab, page tab, profile tab, name this profile tab. And then is active, you are also renamed. And then this should be working correctly. And I also believe I can get rid of this now. And now tab content, I still need. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So now my profile page should still be good. Tabs looking good. And now the exchange I didn't do yet, but let's do that right now. Okay. Now, where are you? Where are you? Where are you? Okay. And you have a tab enum too, which is going to cause some issues. So I'll say trait tab. Then let's just replace you manually. All right, and then once we have that done, we can bring in our new fancy schmancy tab component. Renew there. And then when you're rendering these tabs, you are now being replaced by this tab component, which has its isActive renamed. That should be it. And then just to make sure we don't need a U anymore, that means we don't need this anymore, since you should be standardized now. And now, if all went well, no changes whatsoever. Sweet. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Okay, now let's see where else we have tabs. Deposit, and we'll just go ahead and standardize pretty much all of these. So deposit, that's a wallet tab. Actually, it may even be better or easier to find if we just do this. Tabs, wallet tab. Oh baby, look at this one. Oh baby, baby. Pretty much just wrote the same thing. Alright, so wallet, the wallet page has its own tab component, which is pretty much what we wrote here. Yeah. So we're going to replace this with our tab component. Oh, it also has its own tabs, huh? And let me guess. Yep. Alright, so we pretty much just wrote the same components 2 times, which is great because then that means we have room for optimization. So instead of here, okay, we can work with this. So first, let's import everything we want to. So tab, and then tabs. So we are going to get rid of these two, and we're going to import tab and then tabs. And now this component is using our component. So those tabs are the same. Now, the way that it was determining if it was active or not is it was saying if the active wallet tab is equal to the wallet tab that we pass in. So we can do the same as long as we have the manager. Okay, so is active pretty much this right here. So is active if the manager's active wallet tab equals wallet tab deposit. And then this other one's going to be similar, but wallet tab withdraw. Alright, and that should actually take care of that. Do I have any custom styling on it? Tabs, nope. Okay. So first let's go ahead and test these. Deposit, withdraw. Interesting. This might be a hot reload issue. Nope. On click. Why is my on click handler funky? On click, handle tab click. Oh, handle tab click is a callback. So what we can just do is this. Should be generic void function, but it doesn't take any params, so handle tab click. This is interesting. Wait, did I forget a handle tab click doesn't take any arguments, does it? Oh, it takes a wallet tab. Okay. So this is wallet tab deposit. Wallet tab withdraw. Okay, now hopefully this fixes my issues, but let's see. Okay, that's good. Yes, deposit, withdraw, deposit, withdraw. Okay, my cores, no tabs. These tabs are taken care of, which means that I can now in my wallet get rid of these two subcomponents. Just make sure there's no hidden logic in here that I missed. Nope, that's all the same. And tabs, yep, pretty dumb. All right, so tab, tab, delete. You are now using our fancy standardized tabs. And now let me just poke around and see if there's any other orders, no tabs. Asset pair, it doesn't have tabs in here. Shop, are there any tabs in here? I don't believe so. Buy, sell, and then sell, none either. Profile, already took care of that. Edit profile, nothing. Log out, nothing on those unauthenticated pages, and yeah, I think we're good. Okay. So in this, actually let me push this up because we just standardized all our tabs, which is pretty great actually. Okay. So now let me just run npm relint. Why do I keep getting this error? What's going on with this? No pointer exception. And this is, I'm just going to say standardized tabs. Let's do a little mini review as usual. Then this is source component tab. Yeah, it feels much better having this standardized. Good. This is trade buy. Yeah, trade buy, trade sell. Similar styling for that. Rename the enums, which is good. Margin top, style those, tab content. Profile tab, rename the enums, full R standard. And then clean that up. Delete this, delete that, delete that, delete that. I love deleted code. Means things are getting cleaner. Things are getting standardized and unified. That looks good. Okay, cool. Standardized tabs, baby, what's up? Okay, push that up, push it up, pull it down, and then push it up again. Boom, boom. All right, so all of our tabs are standardized now. I think, yes, I think that we are now ready to move on to the post component, the moment we have been waiting for. And on that note, what I'll probably do is I'll probably stop this video here since I don't know how long it is, but it feels like a good stopping point. Maybe grab some more coffee, and yeah, then we are ready to start tackling this post component, and I'm pumped. So I'll see you soon.